day, but it's because my internet service provider is being shit like normal.
Of course, that's the first thing that goes live.
Who cares?
Yes.
Following live broadcast is intended for mature audiences.
And we're sorry if you actually listen to us.
No, we're not. Stop that.
Let me rephrase that. We're sorry if you listened to us expecting for something that was a bit more family friendly.
Yeah, well, it's after 9 o'clock. We're all right. Hey, we got a 5x5 signal.
Fly-by-wire signal?
Yes. Well, let's see. I'll apologize in advance if I'm a little testy. I'm going through carbohydrate withdrawals. I won't get into it with you. Let's just say it's been interesting.
He will no longer be referred to as Adam. He'll be Alex Straza?
Huh?
You're going through a change.
I am going through a change, yes. Going through the change. But let's see.
Are you man-straighting?
Man-straight. Dude, you know that's actually a thing, though, right? Men do have a cycle. It's like every 2 months. We have a hormone shift every 2 months. Look it up. There's some scientific documentation on it.
Well, I don't think I ever left that shift.
We don't bleed, so.
We can. It's just a little weird.
Yeah, you need to see a doctor if you do.
You got issues.
But on that note, we'll be back in 60 seconds.
The following podcast is intended for mature audiences. The opinions expressed do not reflect this station.
Of
or
course,
any
that's
affiliated
blood red.
partners. Listener discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Geek EZ.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about? It's about nothing.
Yep.
Yep.
It's one of them days.
There is.
So, I guess we're just going to start off with Discovery, right? Since we didn't have we didn't have anything else really big. I mean, it's been a whole lot of trailers and stuff for Justice League and Thor.
We lost Rafiki.
And we lost Fats Domino, who I didn't even know was still alive. They were both the same age.
Well, they had good long runs.
That's for sure.
Yeah. No, when I was like, Robert Guillaume died. No way. Now it's like Benson was one of my like childhood television shows. I never watched Soap, but I was old enough when Benson came on to actually watch it.
Soap was weird.
Yeah, I watched the thing this morning because they were doing some stuff on YouTube where he wasn't going to take the role because he saw the role of a manservant, a black manservant, as basically a step back 100 years. But he made the role his own, and he was the most popular character and got a spinoff.
So in retrospect, good choice.
Yes. Well, because he took the role and made it his own.
And he was allowed to be able to do that. Not
Yes.
all productions do that.
No, they allowed him to do what Benson does best, and that was the snark. But a lot of it's like, I don't think a lot of people know that he was Rafiki as well. I didn't know did you know he was the first African American to play the Phantom of the Opera?
Did not know
No,
that.
I had no idea.
Oh,
that
that's
one.
right. I forgot about that.
He was on. He was in L.A. He played the Phantom. I was like, oh, I would love to have seen that. Wonder if there's any footage out there of him playing the role. Because I really do like the Phantom, and that's my wife's fault. She was a Phantom fanatic in college. But we will say, we say our goodbyes to Benson, to Robert Guillaume, and to Fats Domino, and then we look to the internet the next day or two to see who the third one will be. Somebody put guards around William Shatner, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Mel Brooks.
Well, definitely around Shatner because he's got to be able to make it to Ticonderoga in May.
Yes. Oh, I know what we can talk about before Discovery. I'm the only one that's probably seen it. The Batman vs. Two-Face that they just put out, 2 weeks ago? Last week?
Oh, yeah.
The DC animated film with William Shatner as Harvey Dent. It is very, very interesting.
And you wouldn't realize that was, Shatner's voice. It didn't sound like him.
Well, when he is Dent, it is very much Shatner. But when he's Two-Face, it is very much not Shatner. You're like, wow, that's a lot of verbal acrobatics that he did, or acoustical acrobatics with his voice.
There was actually a video out there of him doing it, and it's like it looks like it's just effortless. He's just doing it.
I actually haven't finished the entire film. I started watching it today because I just picked it up, and from what I've seen so far, it's nowhere near as good as the first one that they did, which the Return of the Caped Crusaders, which had its tongue firmly planted in its cheek the entire time, and it played up the campiness of the original series, and they didn't sound as old. That's what I'm noticing with this one, is how old the characters sound all of a sudden. Adam West obviously was sick. He wasn't feeling well when he made this one because they lost him very soon afterwards. Or we lost him very soon afterwards. But the spontaneity and the spunk that he had in his voice when he played Batman wasn't there. And same with Julie Newmar as Catwoman. She was okay in the first one. She didn't sound old. And this one, she just sounds old. But the story is pretty good. It's a little more serious. A little darker.
Maybe that's why they just sound more their age.
Possibly.
Because they weren't playing up, the lightheartedness. They were just playing it more strict. Dark,
Burt Ward does a really, I don't know if they did any kind of digital work to his voice at all, but he sounds like he did back then. He still sounds like Robin, whereas Adam West just sounds. His voice sounds a little. It's just he doesn't say. He sounds ill. Actually, he just sounds tired.
Yeah, I was going to say tired.
And so does Shatner here and there. It's very much Shatner. They draw Harvey Dent to look just like William Shatner of 1966, which is kind of scary, and it makes me want a animated series again of Star Trek. Because if they could do it that way, it would be perfect. But like an anthology series. Something. But either way, it was, from what I've seen so far, I'd give it a solid B. 3.5, 4 stars. It's good. It's good. It's definitely worth watching. I've got about 10 minutes left of the film to go, so I'm not going to spoil the ending because I haven't seen it. But the addition of Shatner is a nice nod to the era, which is pretty cool. But that's neither here nor there at this point. Because let's talk Discovery. What about Discovery we want to talk first?
When they said that they were not taking conflict between Starfleet officers off the table, I always thought it was because Michael was being labeled traitor. I thought we know a little different.
What do you mean? Which conflict?
Well, one of the things they said was that conflict between Starfleet officers was not off the table as it usually traditionally was. And, we've got quite a bit of conflict between officers from Lorca.
High-ranking officers, actually. Which, yeah, he's still. There's still my reservations about the show, but this episode was the most Star Trek so far. And it's not just because of the inclusion of the Vulcans, it's the way it was put together. It just had a more Star Trek feel to it. I don't know why. Maybe because there wasn't so much in your face the like fan surfacey stuff like has been shown here and there. It's like, oh look, the Gorn skeleton. Oh look, Archer. Oh look. And it was like the little tiny things that it's like, oh yeah, this is still Star Trek. Remember, this just felt like Star Trek more. And that the addition of the added element to the Spock Sarek relationship was a nice thing to see. That Sarek saw himself as the failure and not Spock. And not Michael.
It did add some nice depth with although there's some people who get bent out of shape about that. It's like, we didn't need that. It's like, I don't know, it works.
I think we did though, because we saw as the series went on and the films went on, we saw the reconciliation between Spock and Sarek, and then when there was another falling out that never got resolved because Sarek died.
Well, not only that, but right before Sarek died, he was filled with regret, and he confessed that to Picard. So,
I mean, it came full circle, and it was. I mean, I don't think that was a horrible addition at all. I think it added a layer of depth to Sarek, who up until that point, and everything we've seen, always seemed so stoic. And it showed that he really does have an emotional side when it comes to his son and his entire family.
Just as any good father would.
True. Was it ever? I don't know. Is there any canon aspects of whether or not he went through Kolinar?
I don't think it's ever been mentioned. Pretty confident that he doesn't.
They never mention it.
Sarek? No, I don't think it's ever been mentioned.
He's been too busy, I think, is the case.
I mean, even in the novel Sarek, I don't recall it being mentioned.
Interesting. Yeah, well, what we've seen now, I would guess no, because they keep harping on his predilection towards humans, and the want to incorporate humans more into Vulcan culture.
Generally, don't those who have been through Kolinar end up staying in like the temples or something on Vulcan?
Much.
Yeah.
The idea that they shed all emotion whatsoever and they just stay there and continue to meditate.
Yeah, they become almost a sect unto themselves.
Well, it's a good thing that he didn't do it.
They look at other Vulcans and go, they're so barbaric.
Well, remember, Sarek married 2 different human women. So
yes. Now,
because they get freaky in the show.
What's the actor's name that's portraying Sarek? Does anybody know? 'Cause I don't. I know the actor. I don't know his name.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either.
I actually think his portrayal of Sarek is better than what's his name?
Mark
Cross?
Leonard?
Is it? No one's gonna touch Mark Leonard. But
you mean the guy in the movie?
The guy that played him in the film, the new film.
Yeah, the guy in the new films. He was kind of two-dimensional, I thought.
Wasn't he Barnaby? What's his name from Dark Shadows? Way back in the day.
Oh, no, I don't think that's the same guy.
Oh, okay. Either way, I think I like this guy's portrayal of Sarek better, even though we didn't see much of Sarek in the other films. And now, having seen this version of Vulcan and that they've touched on the Vulcan side of things as well as Klingon, I would most definitely be very open to what's his name? Oh my god, why am I so horrible with names? It's the carbs.
Lack of carbs.
Lack of carbs, man. My brain ain't functioning. Spock from the film showing up.
Quinto,
Zachary Quinto, yes. Quinto Spock. I would not mind him showing up.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind either. That would certainly help a lot, I think.
Yeah. Portraying Spock of this time frame.
Because this would be the time of the cage.
I thought Quinto made a terrific Spock. I really did.
You know what? I don't have a problem with that cast playing those roles.
No, it was just bad writing. That was the problem.
It was How do we Michael Bay Star Trek?
Bingo.
Because that's what people want. They want explosions and they want this. Whereas Star Trek, I think that's what this felt Star Trek because it was cerebral. No pun intended.
You said Michael Bay, and all I could think of was, oh god, he's doing Dora the Explorer, right?
Yes, I want to do a video of Michael Bay's Dora the Explorer, which is basically just a Dora the Explorer episode where everything she touches explodes.
Picks up
Can
the
you
map
find the
and it
bomb?
explodes.
Yes.
Can you say bomb in Spanish?
El Bamo.
And then they blow up. They blow up Swiper.
Oh my god. But no, yeah, I heard Dora the Explorer by Michael Bay. There's a whole lot of sweeping camera motions as she walks through the forest. And explosions for no reason. But back to the Star Trek side of things. Discovery was cerebral this week. It delved into
Literally cerebral.
Yeah, it was literally and figuratively. The machinations that Lorca was shown doing. Now, again, I have my issues with Lorca and Michael Burnham right now. Those are the two characters that are still not connecting for me. Saru, I'm still loving Saru. He's awesome. Tilly, Tilly grates on me, and I don't know why. I think it's because I cannot stand. I don't like bubbly people. I don't like them in real life, and I really don't want to watch them on TV. When you're too perky for no reason, I just want to punch you in the throat. It's like you're too perky. Go away. A smile every once in a while, a nice, good, cheery attitude is fine.
It's what I call pathologically cheerful.
Yes. I think I would like to see some other characters get fleshed out a little bit better. The weird thing that got going on with Stamets is kind of freaking me out. Where all of a sudden it's like his dark side no longer exists.
Oh, it's still there. I think that was just a foreshadowing of the future episode.
True.
Well, he's quite literally on shrooms, so.
Yes, literally on. Yeah, he is totally.
And why are said shrooms explosive?
They're not the regular kind of shrooms, man.
It's the energy they produce.
It's not that they're explosive. It's that a lot of things that are benign, if they interact with things that aren't benign, can become kind of sort of explosive.
Aggressive.
True.
They don't stay benign. They become.
They're
aggressive.
benign. They're not inert. If they were inert, they interact with something, nothing's going to happen. But
there are some shrooms in the real world that are flammable.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Now, you can use them for starting fires when you're stuck trying to start a fire out in the woods. They're real handy.
Something that got me. Now, I'm not going to touch on the use of more colorful metaphors that we had 2 weeks ago, or a week ago. 2 weeks ago. Because when you really do think about it, that word has been used in the English language since the 1600s or maybe earlier. And the fact that it didn't disappear over millennia is not going to make it go away by that time frame. So, but the colloquialisms that they used, that Stamets used, would have changed. He was speaking in a very 21st century, 20th century casual way that seemed off.
Maybe he's got a hobby like
True.
Tom Paris.
True. But even Tom Paris didn't
suddenly art.
Yeah, but what works in the
Mental
Orville
gen.
what works in the Orville does not work in the Star Trek universe. It just
but
doesn't.
But there are crossovers because let's be honest, Orville is Star Trek.
True, it really is, and it does look good for their second season, by the way. There's a colloquial and a casual way he spoke when he was tripping on shrooms that I found it pulled me out a little bit. Like certain people, one very fairly prominent woman in the Star Trek fan thing out there right now, she made mention on Twitter, Terry made mention on Twitter how the disco shirts drew her out of the show. That they felt out of place. And I never actually, it never connected with me. But it's true, because would the Enterprise have enter on it or prize on it?
No. Here's the thing. I actually thought about this. I
Yes.
knew exactly why they have Disco. The ship's nickname is probably Disco, just like the Enterprise of our time is the Big E.
That's true.
It's probably the ship's nickname.
Probably. Either way, that didn't bother me. It was just I mean, and it was the only one scene with Stamets that really felt off for the whole show. The rest of the show, there was a Star Trek feel to it. The way Lorca was doing his the way he was basically manipulating the Admiral, or maybe not manipulating the Admiral. I don't know. Or
well, I mean, I have to admit that was a great plot twist at the end, though.
He's taking advantage of the situation.
But he took advantage of the situation of, did he send her knowing that she was going to be put in that position?
I think
Doubtful.
he sent her hoping
that she got caught?
Yeah.
I don't know that he would send her hoping she got caught. I think he sent her and then once she was caught, realized that this could be his chance, that he is actually not faced with a no-win scenario, but a no-lose scenario. That no matter how this played out, because he's now following orders, doing what she demanded he do, and not just flying off to go rescue her, he's good. But if she also does not make it back to Starfleet, she will never be able to tell what transpired aboard the ship. So either way, he's in the catbird seat.
It really is kind of a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win for him.
Again,
Again,
if she
and
comes back.
that adds an element to Lorca that still, it's one of those things that irks me about the character, is because whereas, aside from Picard, all the other captains we've seen have been strong men who have had issues in their past.
At the same time, you know, Kirk is around at this point, and he is a very ready, fire, aim captain, and they're kind of going that route with him, except instead of a single round, it's a select fire weapon.
Yeah, but Lorca is broken. He even admitted it. He's broken. And from here on out, I mean, like you said, the idea that, oh, this is my out. Kirk wouldn't do that. Picard wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. That is a very uncaptain kind of thing to do. And in all honesty, she's right. Lorca needs to be pulled from that position if he is as damaged psychologically as he says he is.
But we've seen other captains that would behave that way, though.
Yeah, we've seen that in the original series with the guy, the captain of was it the Exeter?
Constellation.
Well, Garth?
Or was it Constellation? No, well, Constellation
if you're thinking Doomsday Machine, there's him.
No,
there's the captain of
I think Ron
Voyager, Equinox.
I think Ron Tracy would behave that way.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
The guy from,
again,
oh god, the Omega Glory, isn't it?
Yeah, Rudy Ransom definitely behaved that way.
But they all got their comeuppance. All of them had their comeuppance, whether it was Garth Avizar or
that's true.
The guy, the captain from The Wounded, or what's his name? Riker's captain from the Pegasus. They all got their comeuppance, where they put their personal feelings ahead of the missions or Starfleet in general, where it was their way, that kind of way. They all got brought to the forefront and shown the door, basically, whether it was the brig or they died.
At the same time, keep in mind, he is not thinking Starfleet. What is he referring to his new TAC officer as? This is very Bull Halsey. This is very, I will return to this island. This is very Doolittle. This is very
MacArthur.
MacArthur. Thank you. That was the one I was.
I would have
said
Ahab, but
Ahab. Yeah, Ahab. But at the same time, he's thinking militaristic. Now the question is not whether a Starfleet captain would think in this fashion, because he doesn't always see himself as a Starfleet captain. He has been driving the point home like a giant nail with a sledgehammer that he is a soldier and his duty is to win the war. Now the question is, would a soldier, would a general, would an admiral do something to allow him to accomplish his ultimate goal? Now, we can't compare him to Nimitz because Nimitz was more by the book. Bull Halsey, MacArthur, Doolittle, they're not exactly your by the book officers. So, I mean, the question becomes not would a Starfleet captain do this, but would a militaristically driven military leader do it?
Thing is, I always saw Kirk as a MacArthur kind of guy.
Yeah, I saw him more as a, Orion Women kind of guy, but that's neither here nor there.
I don't know. I'm wondering if he's driven by the need to avenge the crew of the Baran.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The damage that the psychological damage.
By the way, I think it's interesting. We've got the Shenzhou, the Baran, and the Discovery. They're all named after current space vessels.
At the same time,
space vessels.
They finally dropped the Enterprise name.
Yep.
Yes, the Constitution class.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped both Constitution class and Enterprise, so there's a good chance we're probably going to see one of them float by some point in time.
Be very interesting to see what they do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Hopefully
love
nothing.
if they went with Gabe's Enterprise.
That would be awesome.
Mm.
I wish I had a shot of that. Yeah, Gabe's update on yes, it would actually fit quite nicely.
The interesting thing, though, is Discovery's technically, Spore Drive aside, Discovery is way more advanced than the Enterprise. It's much newer.
I mean, it does harken
Possibly.
that Section 31 question.
Discovery is only a year old. Enterprise is on her second captain at this point.
Yes. Now that they've made Robert April completely canon. Not that he wasn't before, because they canonized the animated series, but now he has been. His name was dropped, and it's on screen.
Well, I think the difference in the capabilities of the ships would probably be pretty startling. Discovery seems to be more of a specialized ship, kind of like the Rhode Island from not TNG, but Voyager with Kim. The Nova class ships.
True.
Very, very.
Or the Prometheus.
Very specialized. Whereas a Constitution, it's a cruiser. It does everything. And so it's, in terms of sheer firepower and capability, I would put the Constitution at higher. But for that very specialized job as what it's doing, Discovery is far and away beyond what a Constitution class would do.
I mean, think about it in modern military terms. Think about the ships and the airplanes and the aircraft that we had in the military and still have in the military, that even though there are newer and more specialized ships and fighter craft and stuff like that, the old standbys are still there doing their job. And at times excelling past what some of the newer stuff does.
The A-10 is the perfect example.
Well, I was going to think more like the F-14. It was one of the longest flown planes in the Navy, in the military.
Yep. Well, the F-14 was, one of the most, recognized and hardy supersonic multi-role aircraft ever to grace the skies. The F-22 and F-35 are much more, more advanced, stealthier, but you're absolutely right. They can't compare to the multi-role supersonic capabilities of the F-14, especially the D series.
Exactly.
A good specific naval comparison would be if you ever go to the USS North Carolina in Wilmington, there's a section of the ship where they discuss how during modernization efforts of the Navy, it was determined that ships like the North Carolina did not require being upgraded to modernized firing computers because a well-trained crew with the older equipment was equally, if not more, capable.
Valid point.
Extremely valid.
And and then again, look how long those gunboats lasted. I mean, when I was a Boy Scout, I remember talking with someone during the Order of the Arrow ordeal. To a he was an adult veteran being inducted into the OA alongside me, and our Alongamat was much more lax in the no speaking than was traditional, especially with the work we were doing. We were busting up a concrete foundation. Long and the short of it, he was a Vietnam era veteran, and he was in the Army. And he said he remembers being next to his radio man when his CO, they started taking fire, and the CO said, "Radio the Navy, tell them we need, this area in front of us cleared." And he said, "How can the Navy help us? They're 25 miles offshore." He said the next thing that happened is it sounds like his radio guy's practically ordering a pizza. And about 2 minutes later, he gets a response that, understood, Navy reports New Jersey is coming to aid our position. And then a 5-layer forest was just friggin' leveled by the New Jersey's volleys. So those are ships that were designed for the Second World War that served all the way through the Vietnam era.
Served beyond that. It served
Well,
all the way
I
up to the
said,
90s.
So yeah, it's not an unheard of thing.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there's
Now-
Missouri that had one of the last rounds fired in the Gulf War.
Yeah, the Mighty Mo. Another question I have, though. We haven't really seen much with Discovery's armaments, its weapons, or for that matter, its honest size. We don't know how big this thing is compared to, say, a Constitution class or even a Miranda class. We're kind of left a little bit in the lurch as to just how big this unique ship is and how
big
it would
any of them are.
compare.
Yeah, because because there hasn't been anything given to. Let's say we've seen a D7, which wasn't.
Is weird.
Yeah, it was weird, but we haven't seen anything recognizable to put it up against.
There is one quote recognizable unquote thing that we have seen that it's kind of bugging me in the back of my mind. Is it me, or do the shuttlecraft look more like next generation type? I think it's Type 7 shuttlecraft.
I don't know. I think they look pretty close to the ones they used in the JJ movies.
They did add the landing strut.
Yes, which I thought was a neat little touch.
I mean, I'm happy for it, but the overall shape, it does look a little bit like the JJ ones, but I think it looks closer to like the next gen shuttles than the Galileo and the
it
Galileo
doesn't really look
2.
very much like a Galileo.
Yeah. Again, they're going to have to explain a lot. The aesthetics.
Heck yeah.
For the aesthetics, they're going to have to explain an awful lot. And before we didn't talk about that on the air. It was before the air. The whole idea of the TOS being a historical record kind of thing, which is why it all looks that way. I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions as far as the aesthetic qualities of the show go. And, I really got to wonder about the inertial dampeners when the thing goes and uses its spore drive. Because are the floors spinning too, or is it everything but the floor?
I think when it comes to the parts that we see spinning around, those are separate and not manned.
Well, you can imagine you're just working on a console, all of a sudden, zoop, it starts moving that way, and you go, oh, crap.
Ah, bloody hell, I gotta go chasing my console.
Well, that report's going to be late.
No, I think Tank's right. I think it's an unmanned part of the ship it's almost like an armor on the outside that moves.
Gods, let's hope so.
The
Envoy surprise.
No, I don't mind. There's certain aesthetic things that still bother me. I don't understand the move to the squared off nacelles.
Yes.
I don't understand that, especially since there is a I mean, if they're keeping it within, they could have done round. I don't know why they didn't do round nacelles. Maybe it has to do. Maybe it really does have to do with something between the Paramount and CBS licensing and contracts concerning the look of things in Star Trek.
I mean, if they were to up and tell us this is... Well, they can't even tell us it's after Wrath of Khan or in between the motion picture and the other to explain the nacelles that are a little closer to the refit type, because then the uniforms are just so far off kilter, it's not even funny. I mean, originally, when we were first introduced to the uniforms on STO, a lot of us were BSing around and we hypothesized that the blue in the Discovery uniform was trying to bridge the Enterprise uniform.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, and that's the theory we've been working on. But it's still so far away from
to be
the
honest,
TOS uniforms.
Our
Even
military
the cage uniforms.
Yeah, you guys who are in the military, they're a little ornate for uniforms, are they not? For duty uniforms?
You talk about the Discovery uniforms?
Yes.
Well, that depends on your job. For example, if you work in the Pentagon, a lot of those guys are actually wearing Class A's, which includes your ribbons and other decorations.
Yeah. Okay, but you're wearing your decoration. I'm talking just the ornateness of the actual duty uniform they're wearing. I mean, it's got the stupid little emblems all built throughout it. The buckles on the shoes
down to the
are
boots.
deltas.
I should point out that the Marine Corps' duty uniform actually has the globe as part of the design throughout the entire thing.
Okay.
You have to look for it, but it's in there. I think the Army might be doing something similar, but yeah.
Well, again, the duty jumpsuits that they wore in Enterprise felt very uniform, to me. And now the Discoveries are very uniform, just very ornate. And then by the time to be honest, the TOS uniforms look like pajamas.
Well, really that's because we've had so many more advanced uniforms.
True.
At the time, they did look like uniforms. But we're in our minds, we're comparing it to Enterprise. We're comparing it even to Wrath of Khan. We're comparing it to Next Generation.
Even the Next Gens kind of look like pajamas.
But now, granted, I never served in the military, but I was I am an Eagle Scout. Even for, some of my old uniforms have the fleur-de-lis on the buttons. But not to the extent that Discovery has it, even on our Class A's. At the same time, the BSA uniform is intentionally designed to reflect the current military uniform, which is why the BSA just had a uniform overhaul. But I agree. The standard duty uniforms do seem extremely ornate for duty uniforms.
It seems to go in line with the rest of the show, though. Everything seems over detailed.
Now, I do enjoy some of the minor details, like the Gorn skull, like the tribble, and some of the background details that are things that should be there. The fact that they're continuing the tradition of the TNG era, all the little consoles have their own, have lettering. All the little all the pipes have their own warning stuff. The details that make sense.
True.
But those tiny little deltas just don't make sense because this should being the operative word, still be the era where every ship has their own emblem.
Flagships.
Only the flagships.
Which apparently was every single one of the Constitution class. But
I was going to say, that's every single Constitution class starship out there.
Which is the only ships we ever saw on TOS.
Which is true. I was about to bring that up. But the Exeter, the Defiant, the Constellation. We never saw the Connie herself. The Enterprise.
And the Enterprise is the flagship of the fleet.
Yes.
Which stands to reason that the fleet, outside the flagships, would use her emblem.
That said, to go back briefly on the ornateness of the uniforms.
Go ahead.
It still is just a matter of their regular daily need. So in the case of these guys, Discovery, maybe they're more utilitarian than we think. They just look more ornate. So like there's an actual purpose to it. I couldn't guess, obviously, because we don't know. But when you're looking at your regular daily uniform in the Army, we wore BDUs back in the day. Now it's DCUs or whatever the hell they're going to call them now. Some digital camis that'll last 3 months.
They've changed them like 3 times in the 9 years since I've been out.
I know.
8 years I've been out.
They last 3 months now, or if you're lucky. Anyway, so it depends on their need. We wore BDUs for regular work, but if we were, in my case, working on tanks, I actually wore coveralls over, well, not over all of my BDUs, but at least a good portion of them. Or we wore Nomex uniforms, which Discovery uniforms kind of make me think more along the lines of Nomex, flight suits, things like that. So for those guys, it actually might have a very legit purpose, like maybe there's some fireproofing involved, helps them survive in a brief vacuum moments, which is why Burnham made the jump without too much trouble. We don't know. So there could be a legit purpose to the look. Admittedly, yes.
Certainly doesn't help against Klingon knives.
Nope, no. And as Firefly points out, Enterprise uniforms also do that. They're utilitarian. There's a purpose. In the case of the TOS era, maybe those guys, maybe their uniforms were similar, but it's just they were more advanced. We don't know.
At the same time, the logic, I don't know for certain, I think the logic behind Roddenberry's color thing stems directly from the deck crews of the aircraft carriers.
Probably.
Merchandising.
As a side note, though, I kind of wonder if we're going to start to see some of the uniforms that were from the Cage.
Well, technically, I mean, that's already been explained in one of it's Dayton Ward's book, right? That explains that?
No, it's the other one, I think.
Okay. It's the...
Actually, if you think about it, when they went down to the planet in that episode, that pilot episode, actually having an overcoat thing that looked very similar to what Discovery's tops look like.
True.
Yeah, kind of. You know what those were made out of? That was headliner material that you would see in the ceiling of your car.
Explains why they look.
That's what that stuff was made out of.
Amazing. This explains why they look so uncomfortable.
You know what? Getting back to the actual storyline of the show, watching this episode, because they brought Tyler into it a lot, and it's almost like they're setting him up so like a false sense of security. But I wonder, with Lorca having a tribble, and the only reason he would have a tribble is because of their dislike of Klingons, that he would have it for that reason.
If they know.
At the same time, tribbles, I don't think were widely known in the Federation by that point.
I'm just curious as to, I mean, because the whole thing is that he's a Klingon spy.
I will say I found the tribble thing, rather than being a nice touch, it's bugged me because McCoy takes the tribble to the lab and there's obviously nothing in the computers about the damn thing. He has to do full-on research on it.
True.
No, there's another thing, though. We haven't seen it since.
Nope, we haven't.
It
was fan service. It's fan wank.
Well, at the same time...
Somebody said they saw it dissected in the lab or something.
Wait, back up, hang on. Remember, Phlox fed one to his pets in Enterprise.
That's true.
That is true.
But I don't think he actually said it was a tribble. I don't think he called it anything. He just said, it's dinner.
I'll have to rewatch the episode.
I do believe he specifically says this is a tribble.
It's been a while since I'd seen that episode, so it's
either way. I mean,
you
can't argue too much about stuff like that because, I mean, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, it's James R. Kirk, and they never changed it when they did their their redos on the episodes. It still says James R. Kirk in the remastered TOS.
A little side note: you're going to want to see the latest Star Trek Continues, because that gets an interesting mention. I'm not going to say anything else. You'll have to watch that episode.
The newest one. Not
yeah,
not-
the latest one, part 1 of 2.
Yeah, part 1 of 2.
Because that gets an interesting mention. I laughed out loud when the subject came up because
I have
of
to go
the
back and
way
watch
it was
it. I missed
mentioned.
it.
Yeah,
I
you got to
missed
see it. You got to see it. I'm not going to spoil it at all because
All
it's
right.
such a good joke.
Also, to answer Firefly's question real quick, I know I'm jumping here. Similar argument about why they never considered an autoloader system for the Abrams. Well, they didn't go with the autoloader system because back in that time when it was being designed, autoloaders sucked. They were slow, they weren't very good, and the greatest examples they had had spy images from torn out autoloaders from the T-64s from the Russians. So, yeah, they just stuck with a regular human loader, which frankly is still the better way to go. It's faster, and you have another person to do other work that needs to be done. So, yeah, similar argument, but not quite the same.
More tankers for the tank god.
Shh, we don't talk about that.
At the same time, military technology does sometimes take time to develop. Look at the Battle of Midway. They had the auto arming, for the first time on some of those TBDs and Dauntlesses, and for the, I believe it was the Yorktown Squadron, when they went to auto arm the bombs, instead it tripped the release mechanism. So half the aircraft lost their payload before they even got to the Jap carrier.
There's not very many
Kaga?
weapon systems, big weapon systems that use an autoloader. The Challenger 2 uses an autoloader. The Leclerc uses an autoloader. T-64, obviously. I don't know if the T-72 does, but I believe a lot of the Russians like using autoloaders. So the technology is certainly there, but by my understanding, we still can outshoot somebody with an autoloader because of the speed involved and the fact that it's just one piece, at least in our case, versus the Challenger, which is a two-piece rifled system. Oh, you're breaking up, Wolfie.
Here's the definitive answer. The Israelis use a human loader in the Merkava. End of argument.
Well, they also stuck a portion of a squad in the back there. It's like, we need more bodies. It's a good tank, though. I won't. I will not argue against that.
Flesh armor.
No, not that kind of armor. They're just not right.
Covered it with their dead.
No, it's to deploy squads to the battlefield with maximum protection.
That's what she said. I'm sorry.
That made no sense. Hey, you know what? This is the last thing I'm going to say on it as to why the Discovery uniforms are so ornate. This is a conspiracy, and then I'm going to start out there right now. It is to make sure that cosplayers have to buy the licensed merchandise and not be able to make it themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be it.
That's exactly it, because CBS hates their fans.
Is that the argument that some people are making?
Which is a crying shame.
Yes. It's not true, though.
And frankly, all they do is they just sell the pattern.
Is it?
No, it's not true. These people are out to make money. They make money off of the people who buy their merchandise and watch their shows. If you don't watch their shows, they don't make money. They're not going to do something intentionally to piss you off.
I don't know. Look at EA.
We won't talk about EA.
We won't. We don't talk about that. We don't.
Don't talk about that.
But yeah, I mean, this is a horse that I don't want to keep beating. So, I'm trying to think of other. Let's see. I got a quick question. Any of you guys
42.
watch Stranger Things?
That's a
on
negative,
Netflix?
Ghost Rider.
What? I didn't
Stranger
catch that.
Things on Netflix.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the series too.
I have to. I will tell you this, guys, right now. You need to watch it. My wife and I was like, well, everybody tells me I got to watch it. We binged watched the first 3 episodes. 2 nights ago. We're on episode 7. We have to do episode 7 and 8 tonight. There's only 8 episodes.
Oh my god!
But it grabs you. You want to keep watching it. It is well written, and for those of us who grew up in the 80s, it is freakishly nostalgic.
Oh god, yes.
Really, because the characters are they're 12, 11, and 12. I was only a year younger than these guys. So at the time frame, it takes place in 1983. So it was like watching this, I'm freaking out because I'm sitting there going, I used to play with that. And and unlike other shows that are set in the 80s where they kind of try to make you think this is what the 80s looked like, this really, they do a really good job of not only nailing the look, the feel. It's directed like an old 80s film. It does so much to bring that
The
time
music
frame.
in it, everything.
Yeah, the
about
time.
it.
But it's if you've ever watched the old thriller or horror films from back then, it has that feel of the old Nightmare on Elm Streets and that kind of stuff. Even though it's not a scary show, it's more X-Files-y than anything.
Yeah.
It's really good. It really is well written, well directed, well put together show that I am kicking myself for having not watched when it first came out. So I would highly recommend the show. Yeah, it has a
Nice.
grabbing quality to it that I wish Discovery had for me.
Yeah, one of my real guilty pleasures is a film that came out. Was it the 80s or 90s? It was called The Monster Squad.
Oh, that was 1984.
That film was great.
I know that film because I remember the commercials that got pulled off the air because they said Nards in the commercial.
How times have changed.
Wolfman said Nards. Yeah, they pulled the commercial because I guess people didn't realize what Nards meant.
Yeah, because the kid's yelling, "Kick him in the nards!" So he kicks Wolfman right in the nuts, and it works.
Wolfman's got Nards. They want to remake that.
Oh God.
Oh, and he smears that garlicky pizza on Dracula's face and burns him with it.
Reboots that we don't need to see. Monster Squad. Magnum P.I. Don't touch the mustache.
Why are they trying to
You saw
reboot
my
everything?
proposal for that, didn't you?
Yes, I saw it. Was great.
What are they going to try to do? Magnum?
Yes, they're rebooting
No,
Magnum.
no, God, who would they get to play Magnum?
I don't know.
Nobody.
Well, I mean, in the late '90s, they already tried to reboot Knight Rider, and that flopped horrifically.
Oh,
It flopped multiple
faceplanted,
You know,
didn't it?
yes, it has but there is still a push now. I guess Hasselhoff himself was pushing for it, where he would do the send off, where it would be Michael Knight would be a part of the show, but it wouldn't be about him.
Michael Knight is dead.
Well,
Got better.
No,
according
in the one series, his son is driving around in the car, the one from the 2000s, and Michael Knight is dead on that show, if I remember correctly.
Well, if Terminator can completely negate Terminators 3, 4, 5, and 6, or 5, and do the sixth one and just go as a sequel to the second one, the same with Superman Returns being a sequel to Superman 2 and negating that 3 and 4 ever happened, then why couldn't they?
3 and 4 were pretty bad.
I wouldn't mind saying. I mean, Hasselhoff, as long as he camped it up enough, I'd watch it. I was a religious.
We need him back as Nick Fury.
I love that movie, man. It's so bad.
See, I actually like Jackson as Nick Fury. He does a great job.
Yeah, but the Hasselhoff Nick Fury is so bad, it's good.
Firefly points out that the Terminator movies involve futzing around with the time stream, so they have a legit excuse.
That's true.
As the fact that reboots haven't exactly been covering themselves in glory gotten through their skulls.
I think Hawaii
fortunately,
Five-0 is the only one that actually has any kind of following right now, right? Because the MacGyver show. Who watches the MacGyver show?
There was a MacGyver
There's
show.
a new MacGyver show?
Yes.
It's from the
I
same
think
guy.
that answers your question.
It's from the same guy that created the new Hawaii Five-0 and is handling
Yeah.
Yes.
Man Bun PI.
Now the new
And
Hawaii Five-0 got off to a nice start, but then it just got ridiculous. It became a one-note kind of show.
Yeah, kind of like CSI.
The weird thing is, are they going to tie Man Bun PI into Hawaii Five-0? Because in the new Hawaii Five-0, they've mentioned watching Magnum PI at one point.
Huh. Probably not then. That'd be like saying, hey, I used to watch Star Trek on Star Trek.
No, the original Magnum PI is tied to the original Hawaii Five-0.
No, but I do like the idea. Instead of a mustache, he's got a man bun, and he's a hipster, and he only solves crimes that take place at like Starbucks or Whole Foods. Whole Foods. On a side note, Whole Foods is raising their prices yet again because their food wasn't overly expensive before.
Amazon bought them and dropped all their prices.
Nope. The report just came out yesterday, dude. The price increase would happen.
But Amazon just dropped all their prices.
Just to make it look good.
3 months ago.
Just to make it look good. Look what we're doing. Look how good we are. We are Amazon.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing, our modern political systems do with taxes. Look, the average person could be saving up to $4,000 a year. Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
15 minutes can save you.
Let's not get into politics.
We're not getting into politics.
Fair enough. My apologies.
But 15 minutes could save you 10% on Geico.
No plugs for Geico. Stop that.
Unless they're going to start sponsoring us.
No, I would rather.
In which case, plug away. Yeah.
I would rather plug Progressive because I think Flo's cute.
Oh no!
I'd rather
God, that woman's annoying. I'm sorry.
I'd rather plug Progressive just because Progressive seems to have sci-fi technology. Geico doesn't.
Yeah, it's true. They have a gecko.
I'd rather plug CBS Paramount because at the end of the day, we no matter what our feelings are on Star Trek or even Lucasfilms and Star Wars, we're sci-fi geeks. We love this stuff anyway, no matter how good or bad or Andromeda it is.
Speaking of
Lucas, you do know that Samuel L. Jackson did an interview where he said Jedis can survive from falls from high heights, and Lucas said, "Hey, if you want to be alive, you're alive."
It's all good.
Now, again, in the archetype Trek war debate, which I've really never liked, the one thing that has really put me off is the fact that Lucas has said everything's canon except what contradicts itself, and then can just arbitrarily do stuff like that. I mean, that kind of bugs me on a level. But
why?
Well, I mean, it seems cheap. It seems
lazy,
lowbrow, an easy way out. Instead of saying, yeah, we erred on this. Ooh, we forgot about that. Oh, the writers missed that.
How is it an easy way out when they have like 1,000-page Bible that they have to go off of now?
Now they do, but
no. See, they've had the Keeper of the Holocron has been pretty much responsible for maintaining the validity of canon for like a decade at this point.
Yeah, before the cell. Before it was bought. Now, I mean, but if you're going to talk that way about it, I'll use the Enterprise F as a good explanation of canon. Because a lot of people have asked me this question. And I went to the source. I went to CBS. Okay? And that's as much as I will say. People in the know. I went digging and I started asking questions. And I wanted to know, where does it stand? Because this question gets asked to me constantly. I've seen it on Trek Yards. I've seen it all over the place. Whether or not the Enterprise F is canon. And what was told to me more than once is it is canon until it's not.
That's fair.
And the only time it will not be canon, because the Enterprise F is considered canon by CBS and all of its affiliates. No, just CBS, because they own it.
Oh.
Because they own Star Trek, and they are the sole owners of Star Trek. Paramount licenses Star Trek for the films. It's a contract. But when and if a television show or movie licensed film comes out set in a time period of or after Nemesis that would deal with a USS Enterprise, and if the powers that be of that decide to design a new Enterprise F, then that will become the canon F. Up until that point, the Enterprise F is considered canon. So, I can say I designed a canon ship. I can actually say that now. But it's still the same kind of thing with Star Wars. It's like, it's canon until it's not.
Fair enough. And, well, I mean, at the same time, it bugged me that they brought Maul back in both.
Why? Okay, here we go. Think about.
He was cut in half.
Did you or did you not like Rogue One?
I felt Rogue One was very flat. It didn't. I just was.
Does it
underwhelmed?
Fit, but is it still Star Wars? Yes or no? Is it Star Wars? I mean, it's Star Wars. It's a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Even though it introduced stormtroopers we've never seen, it introduced at least 7 different starships we've never seen.
Yeah.
It introduced elements to the Star Wars story that were unknown before.
Yeah.
Yet it's still Star Wars and it's considered canon. And those ships are considered canon even though we never saw them. And there are explanations that are really easy for that one. Why did we never see the U-Wing fighter again? Because the U-Wing fighter is not a fighter in per se.
It's a troop ship.
Troop transport with fighter
We just
capability.
saw it Monday night.
Exactly. But again, as a transport.
As a side
And
note,
it wasn't used in a. It wasn't. It's like, why don't we see it in Star Wars in the battle there? Or why didn't we see it in the battle of Endor? Well, because it wasn't that kind of ship. It is a troop transport ship used to drop and protect troops. It's a Huey.
Yeah.
You don't see Hueys in the middle of firefights that way. You don't see them doing air combat that way.
That's the job of the Apache.
Exactly. So, I mean, you got that kind of thing. Well, what about the TIE? What was it? The TIE Defender or whatever they call it? No, the Striker?
Yeah.
The TIE Striker.
One.
Why don't we see those? Because they are an atmospheric vessel craft. They wouldn't fight in outer space. They're not meant to be fighting in outer space. And we never saw a land battle aside from the Battle of Endor. And you can't fly those ships in a forest.
As a side note, Art, you think you said yes because I was hovering over kick client from server.
There is no
I'm not
debate.
biased at all.
In my eyes, Star Wars and Star Trek are two different animals. You can't compare the two. Would they exist without each other? No. Star Wars would probably not exist if Star Trek didn't. And Lucas has actually made that claim.
Yes.
But they're so separate elements. One is fantasy, one is fiction.
I agree. It's just, seeing, things like that, it just churns around in the back of my mind and I go, what? Like, Maul was cut in half.
People are cut in half in real life and live.
Yeah, dude.
It
was not a medical procedure.
It's a medical procedure, but they don't disappear into a seemingly bottomless abyss. I mean,
but
the impact
he's a force user. They can
fall
from high heights
using the force.
Which is
Obi-Wan himself proved that there are handholds inside that shaft. So
got better.
I got never mind.
He was head over heels, literally.
I was so. Oh, dude.
You didn't do the pun first. I'm surprised.
Dude.
You're just upset you didn't think of it first.
He was sliced in half.
He kicked himself in the nose on the way down.
He was sliced in half, but the wound was cauterized instantly. There was no bleed out.
But then why is there blood in episode 4 when Obi-Wan cuts a dude's arm off?
Because it's a mistake.
Wait, that's because it's lazy.
Yes, it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because every other amputation we've ever seen has been a cauterized wound. Luke's, Anakin's, even what's his name's head when it got taken off in there's two beheadings, Dooku's head and Jango Fett's, cauterized, no blood.
They have pointed out though that while cauterization typically happens, there are instances where blood can break through just because of the fact that it, depending on the creature in question, it just
if it exists under high pressure.
Yeah, essentially. So that could be the case with whatever the guy that got
Dr. Evans.
And I never figured out which one it was. Was it the Aqualish or was it the other guy? I thought it was the Aqualish.
The head.
Whoever had the furry arm.
Well, it's not the guy with the funky pink stout thing.
It's Walrus Man.
Yeah, the Aqualish.
The Aqualish.
You better watch yourself.
He will always be Walrus Man to me, dude.
I always thought it was like, what's baboon butt?
Yes. Butt face.
As a kid, that's what always came to mind. It's like, it's a baboon butt.
Well, speaking of aliens and Star Wars, we got to see a whole bunch in the latest Rebels. We saw an Ishi Tib.
Gesundheit?
Star-faced aliens?
Hyde doesn't have TV access or
Okay.
ad blocker.
Okay. So, well, the latest Rebels episode, again, monstrous amount of action scene for the show. A lot of action elements in that in the series. It's like they've upped their game. It's like, hey, this is war. There'll be a whole lot of shooting.
And we've seen the Ishii tip before, but it was always in comics.
Yeah, I mean, they exist in the films. We've just never seen one that. I mean, they get right in there.
What is this?
What'd you just put in there, Wolfie?
Disney could lose the rights to its CGI characters.
What?
The headline is a bit of
clickbait,
but it has
Marvel
to do...
Studios and Lucasfilm owners Disney, as well as 20th Century Fox and Paramount, are caught up in a lawsuit over MOVA, software that captures actors' facial expressions to create realistic CGI models. Another company owns the rights to MOVA and has been suing a Chinese company for stealing their technology, which was then used by the other studios in their films. Whoopsie!
Now, the Chinese do that an awful lot.
But Reardon LLC is now suing for the rights to characters created with the technology.
That's not going to happen.
With that.
That one is definitely not going to happen.
Seriously, you are going to take on the juggernaut of Hollywood.
Not just one of them.
All of them.
He's going after all of them.
Yeah, and have fun with that.
That one's probably going to be dismissed.
Especially since the problem isn't with the companies that use the software. Why not go after the Chinese company?
He has.
Well, that's what he's doing.
Okay,
well, he's now going after the rest.
The case seems to hinge on whether MOVA is thought of as a program like Photoshop or Word, in which case users create content which they own the rights to, or does the lion's share of the work. Or does MOVA do the lion's share of the work, in which case the MOVA creators can claim to own whatever has been made with the software?
That's
have fun with
stretch.
That's
a huge stretch. I don't see that happening.
From a legality point of view, it should be an interesting case.
It should be. But have fun with that.
Well,
again,
changed.
You can't. I mean, okay, so they used this software that was pirated from your software. Did they pay for the use of said software? Or did they just go in there and say, hey, you know what? We're going to BitTorrent this from this Chinese company.
No, the Chinese company straight up stole it.
Okay, okay. Do you go after somebody who bought stolen property without the knowledge that it was stolen?
Generally, no, but it has gone both ways.
Okay. There's a lot of the companies, big Fortune 500 companies that try to keep an eye out on things like that and make sure that they don't cross that line. But with film stuff, I have no idea if they knew or they didn't know.
I will keep my eyeball out on that one.
Well, change tracks. Art, you finished up something with tracks, didn't you?
I'm sorry, say again?
You finished something with tracks recently, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't know if our listeners know, I am a model railroader. I like trains.
It's kind of a shtick.
Hello, Sheldon.
Are you kidding? I put the character's knowledge to shame, personally. Because I saw a couple of the episodes where he tries to talk about O-Gauge, and the writers just didn't quite understand what they were talking about. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I actually finished up... I'm part of a model railroad club, the Nazareth Area Society of Model Engineers, or NASME, as we call it. And
that's
last
NASME.
year... Oh, boy. Last year, at the end of our open house season, I said, we kind of need a place to store our engines on the lower level of our HO scale layout. Because I had an issue with the locomotive, mid-show, of course, where the thing lost traction and is just spinning its wheels. No matter how fast I'd turn it, the engine was not able to pull its train up the hill. Thankfully, I had another locomotive on standby that I just threw a few switches, ran it out onto the main line, backed it up, and then used both engines to run the rest of the show. My club members agreed. We removed a industry from the layout, a paper mill, and I've spent most of the summer 1 to 2 days a week for a couple hours working on building a brand new locomotive servicing facility and engine house for the club. And today I put 99% of the finishing touches on that whole scene, and it's taken me months, but I've really enjoyed it. It's my first time doing any kind of scenery, first time doing any kind of detailing, first time doing any kind of structures, ballasting, laying track, the whole kit and caboodle. And I'm actually rather pleased with how it turned out. I even did a dirt parking lot.
The pictures he's got that he had uploaded to the Book of Face, some really good stuff.
I took the pictures with my cell phone.
I don't care about what you took it with. Is the fact that what we saw. I mean, you put coal in the coal buckets.
Oh my god, that took me 20 minutes and about 5 business cards.
Wait, what'd you do? Break up business cards or something for it?
No, I actually turned business cards into funnels. So I could, actually kind of, I chained them so I would have something to pour into and then direct it where I wanted it inside those buckets. And then I had to glue them, which was also a chore unto itself. But, I mean, it's a fun hobby. I mean, it's definitely all my hobbies are geeky. But I really enjoyed it. And if anyone's up in the Stockertown area this holiday season, feel free to stop by and ask me and take a look at all 4 of our layouts. Shameless plug.
Speaking of shameless plugs, I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but I was working on making the Star Trek Adventures dice for Tabletop Simulator.
Nice.
I finished that, and it's now up there in the workshop for Tabletop Simulator. So if you want to play Star Trek Adventures using those dice in Tabletop Simulator, you can use them now. And they look an awful lot like the ones that you could buy, and I got them in the different colors: operations or tactical, science, and the challenge dice.
Well done, man.
I was actually kind of surprised that I could get it to look about right.
You're such a geek.
Well, yes.
Nerd!
You'd be amazed how many of us nerds actually scream that at each other.
I'm sure.
Oh,
Speaking of nerdy things,
I play a foam fighting game.
I want to get back to the Star Wars thing because something popped up recently within the past couple of days about J.J. Abrams and Episode 9. And that he wants to tie the entire series together. As in the prequels, the originals, and the new trilogy, and do the full circle on it.
So it's all Yoda's fault.
Yes. Snoke is Yoda. He's Snoka.
Snoka.
He's Yoke.
Snooky.
Got ears shaved. Months ahead, I must plan.
I don't know. I mean, the idea of tying them together makes perfect sense. Because the 3 series, I mean, while they are their own individual stories, I think bringing it full circle would be, if they're not going to make any more, close the gap, close the circle, end the war in the galaxy for once.
There must always be war.
Seriously, that galaxy is cursed.
I don't know. You looked at our planet lately?
Oh, yeah. We were always at war, too, but it's just a planet. That's an entire galaxy.
Art imitating life, imitating art.
Why are they imitating you?
Why are they imitating you?
Luke Skywalker
Damn
builds
straight
model
they
trains.
should.
That's what they're going to find in the tree. When they get there, you'll see in the Jedi tree, the big Jedi temple thing that Luke has set up on the island. There'll just be a whole bunch of model trains.
Train day, not life day. Yeah, I dropped the link to the actual item so you guys can check it out.
Oh,
Yeah,
drop
sure,
it into
if you
the
want.
drop it in chats. Sorry, I'm sitting over here in the whole Magnum PI theme. I don't know why.
The good thing is with Tabletop Simulator, they provide you an awful lot of resources. It's just not intuitive to find it, but with just the right question here and there, they'll tell you, hey, we have templates in the game made specifically for you to make your own stuff if you want. So they gave me the template for the dice, for D20s, D6s, all of them, and all I had to do was figure out how do I make the custom model dice look like the real deal.
I don't know. How do you?
It took about an hour.
That's pretty cool.
It took about an hour, layers, and making sure you had the right font, stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I didn't quite have the right font for the numbers, but frankly, I think these look better than what is on the actual dice. I just know they can't do it on the actual dice. Plastic and all that.
Plastic.
I mean, it's just, they're printed in there, and the font that I used actually is the same kind of font that they would use on like the shuttles or the big numbers on the Enterprise and the motion picture. So it had the outlined around the number and then the number. Whereas on the actual dice, they don't do that. Because, again, when you're printing into plastic, you probably just get malformed dice.
I don't know. I mean, look at some of the stuff Lego's been able to do recently.
Different kind of plastic, though.
Yeah. Oh, but Tank, if you want to share some of those pictures I took, you're more than welcome to. However, I have my doubts our viewers would really care about my trains. But yeah, you're welcome to spread them around if you want to.
Well, we've talked model stuff before. I mean, we got Jim who does his stuff.
This is true.
Models are geeky.
Oh yeah.
I have not put a model together in probably about.
I love building models.
Then yeah, definitely spread the pictures I've done around. I've taken something like 60, 80 photographs of just about every step in my process for getting this locomotive servicing yard up, and I dove pretty deep into the detailing. I even got a compressor house and the compressed air lines coming out of the servicing house that in the 40s, and 20s, the railroad crews used air-powered tools, to fill lubricating injectors, grease certain areas on the locomotives, stuff like that. But those pipes in 1:87 scale can get ridiculously tiny at times.
You have much more patience than I do.
I don't know about that. I think I might curse a lot more than you do when I'm doing it, though.
You've never seen me put something together. When something doesn't work right, yeah, I can turn into a sailor real quickly. Oh, Alistair. How's Destiny, man?
I'm currently trying to capture some glimmer. Can you give me a minute?
Oh, okay.
It's fun. It's good.
Okay. You're the only one. You're the only one of us that plays it, right?
Yeah, Xander plays it, but he's not really one of us.
He is not of the body.
One of us.
He has not yet been assimilated.
They are not of the body. Landrew.
I mean, I'll put it like this. I'm at the very low end of the PC spectrum for the game, and I average 45 to 60 frames a second. My temperatures are nice and even. This game plays better than Fallout 4. Is that saying something, considering Fallout 4 is a couple years old at this point now?
Wow. Speaking of graphics and stuff, did you see the video out there of the Halo versus from the 360 to the Xbox X?
No, I have not.
It's the same game. They just showed what the graphics look like on the X, and it was pretty impressive. I was quite impressed. I was like, well, check this out. And the fact that I think they released the full list of backwards compatible games.
I know they were working on that.
It was interesting. I was curious as to whether or not Destiny was worth all the crap that people have been going through with Destiny and Star Wars beta and all the other thing. And because didn't Destiny have some stuff hanging over its head that people didn't like?
Well, there was the transactions, the microtransactions. There was the fact that Activision just filed for a patent to tie microtransactions to matchmaking.
How do you
Sorry,
file a
I was in the middle
patent
of
on something
combat.
like that? That's okay. You can go back to your combat. It's all good.
I couldn't. No, it was just I couldn't. It wasn't that I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't hear you.
Ah, okay. Well, we'll let you get back to what you're doing.
Oh no, I'm out of combat now.
Okay. I want to switch to comic books. Even though I know Tank and I are the only really hardcore comic readers right now.
I'm not hardcore on new books, no.
Well, I've been reading the Metal series.
No, I haven't gotten into
The
any
DC.
of that.
It's weird. It is definitely weird. It is some of the weirdest stuff I've seen come out of DC in a while.
The initial concept looked kind of cool and neat, but that's about as far as I went into that.
The idea of a dark universe is pretty sweet, where everything is twisted and wrong. It's in the whole Bat God and that kind. It's just really If you miss an issue or something like that, which I did originally, I was like, what is going on? What did I miss? It's kind of like the Injustice series that they got, Injustice 2 series they got going on. If you miss an episode or you miss one of their it's a weekly book. It's a pain in the butt. It gets a little odd, but they've got a lot of Batman books out now. They got the Batman was it not black and white or something like that? The one where the Joker basically becomes the new Batman. And I've only read the first issue of that, and again, it'll take 2 or 3 books before I continue reading it. So, and they got the upcoming Doomsday Watch, where I guess they are going to bring the Watchmen completely into the DC universe.
Well, not that they haven't been leading up to that anyway.
True. But how will Superman deal with swinging trouser Smurf?
Well, right now he's dealing with dear old dad.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I think
I
that'd
haven't
be
kept
funny
up
if
on
that
those.
got him in the face.
I have not kept up on all the Superman books. And I stopped reading the Marvel books. The Marvel books just after I really got that the ending to was it Empire? The Secret Empire kind of left me cold. It was too neatly wrapped up.
Oh, you knew that was coming though.
Yeah, but it was just and it's like nothing ever happened. Everything was back to normal. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I
but it
believe
wasn't.
Wolverine is back.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
He's coming back. But no, I realized, no, it's not perfect. I mean, let's see, you got Peter Parker's all screwed up, and he just destroyed his company, and...
No, I mean, they didn't return it back to normal, because, I mean, they made a specific point of it that when she returned things to the way it should have been, she made sure that they didn't forget it. So they specifically point that out, and Stephen did not take the shield back. He gave it back once again to Wilson.
True. But again, even though they don't forget it, the rest of the world just went on like there wasn't some giant fascist dictatorship that it was like, what? It was really just too cut and dry in my eyes. It was like, okay, we're done with this. We're going to move on. I was like, man, this could have repercussions for decades.
It's nothing unusual for them, honestly.
I know.
It's happened in the Avengers television series, cartoon series, where the scroll for Steve Rogers tricked everybody into allowing the invasion, and everybody blames Rogers, but Purple Man influenced Tony Stark into basically becoming a fascist dictator of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as the Purple Man was taken down, everybody was like, "Oh, no, never mind. It's cool."
Yeah, that kind of crap bothers me.
Well, it's kind of part and parcel though with comics in general. Whereas you get the movies, and all that stuff ties in together, and there's definitely repercussions that continue to play out. And I like the fact that they're doing that because it's kind of based on the real world. This thing's going to keep happening.
Well, yeah, it's okay in some cases, and some writers just love to topple the status quo too.
I'm still mad at Kevin Smith for the reveal that Batman peed himself in one of his early missions.
Why?
What?
I don't remember what mission it is. He appears before like the crime council in Gotham, and he throws some smoke bombs. And in the original comic, is this really cool entrance. Well, when Kevin Smith was doing the Widening Gyre or whatever it was, they went back and talked about that from Batman's point of view, and he talks about how he threw the smoke bombs too close and scorched himself, and it caused him to pee his pants.
Oh boy.
That's not how Batman would react nowadays.
Well, so Kevin Smith says, but
Yeah.
You could also be just cracking a joke.
No, it's
in the book.
It's in the book.
Yeah, it's actually in the book. He
Again,
actually says it out loud.
He could still have been cracking a joke about it.
True. Have you been reading the Batman books?
No, I haven't read Batman books in months.
Well,
there's too many of them for one.
Selina Kyle, well, the actual main Batman story.
Which one's that one? I don't know.
What they just did, the Riddle and the Joker, the Riddler and the Joker war.
The Riddlin?
Riddlin, yeah. The Riddler and the Joker. And that was a very violent, I mean, they kill a kid. Like the Riddler, and he comes right, and Batman doesn't, that's what bothers me about this. Riddler comes right out and tells Kite Man that he killed his kid on purpose with Batman standing right there. And Batman doesn't, I mean, it's just like, that just seems so out of character. I mean, he knows Riddler did it. And I realize they're working up towards where Batman's going to take everybody down. But it was so, he didn't even flinch. And I was just like, man, I mean, the Riddler's teasing this guy about how he knew that he had double-crossed him, and that's why he killed his son and all that kind of stuff. And it did it horrifically. He poisoned this kid to death where the kid died in a hospital. And it was just like this really horrible story. And then the Joker can't laugh anymore. And he's pissed because the Riddler keeps taking his shtick, and the Riddler keeps trying, I mean, there's like this big war between the Riddler and the Joker because the Joker, I guess, feels like the Riddler stole his idea. And he's not laughing anymore. Nothing is funny anymore. The Joker doesn't laugh. And he's pissed about
Joker.
it.
There's 3 of them.
Yeah, well, they're going to get into that. Yeah. They're going to get into that more. But it was just a really dark and violent story that, again, ended with Batman kicking everybody's ass, and it was all good. But it was just dark, and then they're moving on to the whole Batman is going to wed Selina Kyle. I mean, he asked her to marry him, and she said yes. And now they just revealed it to all the rest of the Bat kids, all the Robins and Nightwings and all that kind of stuff just found out. And this is really weird. And now Batman's going to take on Talia al Ghul with Selina Kyle for some reason.
Well, she's got to beat up the ex-girlfriend.
Got to.
How Young and the Restless is that?
For real.
Wait a minute. I thought technically Talia and Batman were married by Roz at one point.
They were, but he's not. He's not an official. He's not an official officiant. The
Isn't
license
Damien
was valid.
Their kid?
Yes, Damien is his son.
Ooh.
And he is Talia. He is Ra's al Ghul's grandson, or Raish, depending on how you want to say it.
Does someone yell, "It's all for you, Damien"?
Speaking of Ra's al Ghul, I will say that Alexander Siddig does a really good job of playing the character on Gotham.
But he's no Liam Neeson's.
Now
Oh,
wait,
no.
Alexander
True that.
Siddig
Is
is
playing-
doing Ra's al Ghul.
On Gotham, yes.
Huh. Good for you, Doc.
Is it Ra's? Didn't
Good for
Ra's
you.
al Ghul appear on Arrow as well?
Yes. So it is, yeah, it's a definite that those two universes are completely separate.
Is it
Even
still
though
Bashir?
Arrow, yeah, what?
Is it still Bashir?
No, it was different character, different actor, and he did a good
Oh.
job too at the character. It was very well done. I mean, it just wasn't. It wasn't. Siddig plays Ra's the way you expect Ra's to look, act, and sound in the comics. He does a really good job that way. Whereas the guy that played him in the Arrow series did a good job of what they made that character, but he was not the Ra's al Ghul from Batman. And speaking of that, Arrow and Flash have been dropping Batman hints and Justice League hints left and right.
Really?
Oh yeah, Bruce Wayne has been mentioned at least twice.
Well, I know he was kind of dropped in an episode of Supergirl or a crossover episode or something.
Yeah, but they're more and more. I mean, what was it? I guess in one of the latest episodes. I haven't watched Arrow yet this season. One of the latest
can only
episodes.
watch what's on Netflix.
Well, you almost kind of have to drop it.
Yeah, well, because I guess he's outed as the Green Arrow, and he's the mayor of what is it? What city is it now?
It should be
Star
City.
Star City. And he actually he's getting confronted by all the paparazzi and all the reporters, and he's like, "I'm the mayor of this city. I am here all day. If I was the Green Arrow and out all night, don't you think it would show?" And he's like, it's like I'm not. He's like, this isn't Gotham City, and Bruce Wayne. I'm not Bruce Wayne, and all that. I mean, he drops Bruce Wayne's name and Gotham.
Whoa!
So it was like, interesting.
Yeah, but at
Whoa! So he outs Bruce Wayne? Oh,
no, he
crap.
doesn't out Bruce Wayne. He never actually mentions Bruce being Batman or any of that kind of stuff. I don't think he knows.
Yeah, but he implies it pretty heavily. Sounds like.
The way he just dropped the name, it was more in passing about Bruce Wayne and being a playboy and all that kind of thing, instead of being a mayor of a city.
Okay, so it wasn't like
all right, okay.
Yeah. But it wasn't like he was outing Batman as Bruce Wayne as the vigilante of Gotham. But they've dropped it now. They've dropped a lot of hints of the Justice League and stuff that Bruce Wayne has done in Flash, and they've been doing it subtly here and there.
Yeah, but for him to even say that, it's almost like he's aware of the double life.
True. I am curious though, because of the success of Wonder Woman, and with the upcoming Justice League film, and Superman and Supergirl both appearing on the TV show, whether or not the restrictions on Batman and Wonder Woman have been dropped. Because those are two characters they were not allowed to use on the CW shows. And now they're mentioning them, they're talking about Gotham, they're showing stuff that only Batman would have known or done and stuff. It was like, are we going to see Batman in the Arrowverse? I mean, we just saw Bwana. Was it Bwana Man?
Really? They did Bwana Man?
They did Bwana Man on Legends.
How the hell did they do Bwana Man?
Sometime in the 1920s with P.T. Barnum. I haven't watched any of the CW superhero shows. I have to catch up on them, so.
Bwana Man is such a weird character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so far behind on Supergirl, I don't even know where to start now.
I gave up on Supergirl because I was tired of watching everything but Supergirl. It turned into it turned into a love story, and it turned into about everybody else. And Supergirl was like secondary to the entire story last season. It was all about the relationship between what's her name and her girlfriend, and this and that, and it just
again, The Young and the Restless.
Yeah, it turned into a soap opera instead of Supergirl. It's like people want to watch Supergirl be Supergirl. They don't want to watch Supergirl's sister have relationship problems.
So it turned into Supergirl.
Yes. Which is why I think on Arrow, they kind of nixed the whole relationship and romance thing because people were getting sick of it.
And he wasn't okay.
He wasn't okay. Are you okay? Drink every time somebody says, "Are you okay?" on Arrow. You'll be drunk in 10 minutes.
So then it sounds like I really haven't missed much. Good.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Well, I mean, again, I gave up. I just stopped watching it. I watched The Flash all the way through. I'm glad that they're going away from the speedster bad guys.
Well, it gets
Because-
a little silly after a
Yeah,
while.
it was like 3 seasons in a row of speedster bad guys. It's like, he has other bad guys, right?
Well, they even set up some of them. Captain Cold, I think, is one of them.
Yeah, they've got Captain Cold, they got Mirror Master, they've got them, but they've never given them their own arc, a big, long, season-long arc. It was always another speedster.
Now,
And it
at
was
some
like-
point, wasn't Mark Hamill supposed to come in and do the trickster?
He
again?
did. For 2,
Yeah.
he actually did 2 episodes.
When did that?
And he was a
happen?
very good trickster.
Oh,
Oh,
he was a
he's
good.
great.
He was a good trickster back in the 90s.
Remember, I can't watch anything that's not currently on Netflix as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah, but this
But
was yeah.
yeah, I mean, I thought they were good. I think it's a little odd that they're keeping them all in separate universes, because right now I think their television shows are doing better than their movie franchise.
Well, the idea I think DC is going for is that it's a multiverse.
At the same time, they're kind of precluding some of the biggest, heaviest hitters of the Justice League. Jon Jones, Superman, Batman, Wonder
But Jon
Woman.
Jones is on Supergirl.
He's on Supergirl, but he's
She's
not
in
always
another
on
universe.
Arrow, who's not always on, with the Legends of Tomorrow, who's not always with...
Well, Legends, Flash, and Arrow are all in the same universe. Supergirl is the only one outside of that universe. Yet she can travel back and forth. They have a way for her to go back and forth if needed.
Yes.
Now,
Thanks to Flash.
Yes.
In the one trailer for the Justice League, who do you think it is they're hinting at that shows up when Alfred says,
Oh, that's Superman.
said you would come? You pretty
Superman.
sure that's him?
Will we get a hint and or maybe a cameo of a Green Lantern? Probably, but that's Superman.
Jon Stewart. I hope it's Jon Stewart.
Oh, there's supposed to be no. I think for the film they're going to have all 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
I hope it's the Squirrel Green Lantern.
Oh my god!
I would
Squirrel
die. I would die laughing right there in the theater.
Actually, speaking of Justice League, this
Yes.
something I wanted to talk about.
Go ahead.
And I noticed this because we at my store sell the Justice League calendar. Cyborg's not on or in the calendar at all.
Probably
That's
because
odd.
the CG wasn't finished.
That's wrong.
I haven't
mean,
been
I've-
seeing him in a lot of advertisements at all, really.
Oh no, dude, he's in.
Oh God, he's all over it.
He's all over now. I honestly think it was a lot of the stuff that we didn't see of him, and you're right, he wasn't in a lot of the initial promotion stuff, is because they hadn't finished him. He is a 99% CG character. That if you watch the early trailers and the now trailers, you can see how much they've updated and gotten the CG better.
Well,
So
I've
it
always
just might be a case of
enjoyed-
that.
I've always enjoyed the Cyborg character.
I hope they don't go too far from what we've already seen visually on screen. I know they're going to because it's a movie and it's Zack Snyder's version of this. But I mean, whether it's Teen Titans Go, or any of the other times we've seen him on screen, he's got a very certain person. It's like Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan's hard to do because you either expect this and you don't get it, which is what we got with the Ryan Reynolds. I don't think he did a bad job in the role. He just wasn't. He wasn't the Hal Jordan that I was expecting.
He wasn't the Hal Jordan that we needed.
Yeah,
Or the one
he
we
was
wanted.
good. I would not say he was bad as Hal Jordan.
No, the story that they made for him wasn't all that
Yeah,
great.
it was rushed. It was well, that's a whole other thing. But he wasn't. Was he
disgusting.
bad in the role? No. To be in
Now-
all honesty, if I was going to cast that role 20 or 15, 20 years ago, I would have put Dennis Quaid in that role.
I could see
Oh,
Dennis
God.
Quaid.
Yeah.
If I were to cast it when it was cast, I would have tried to get Nathan Fillion in there. Because he did a wonderful Hal Jordan in some of
Yes.
the animated
He's a little
stuff.
old though.
A little old, but a little CGI touch up, a little working out, and he could get back in there.
Well,
Absolutely.
Army Hammer has been dropping He's been trolling the DC universe and the DC fans for about 6 months now, with pictures of Green Lanterns and things like that. So, and I know that because it's the next film in the, let's see, it's Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, and then Wonder Woman 2. it's in that line for being released. So they the way film. I mean, it's like everybody's like, "Oh, look, they're announcing the character," and next thing you know, they're filming. You're like, "Nah, man, this takes a year of pre-pro." They know who these actors were. They just didn't tell you who got the role until they started shooting the film.
I know who Alfred is talking to.
Supergirl.
No, it's Wonder Woman.
You think so?
Because she doesn't want to get involved at first.
But the banging and the whole Jurassic Park water cup thing that happens right before that, I'm thinking it's Superman. Now, I know you. I mean, Wolfie, you said you weren't excited for it. I am excited for it.
I am, and I'm not. I want Wonder Woman to get her chance to lead the team, and the more I'm seeing of it, they're giving it to Batman.
Because Batman's the one who's setting it up.
But she should be. She's the established one. She should be the leader.
She should be. Well, again, we'll see what happens when it comes out. But I was really concerned about the casting of Ezra. Is it Ezra Miller? Is that his name?
Bridger.
No, Bridger's on Star Wars. For the Flash, and I was like, oh man. But the more I see of him on screen, the more I like it. The only thing that bothers me is he is obviously a severe smoker, and he's got nicotine-stained teeth. And I'm thinking, man, the Flash runs an awful lot. You can't do that if you're smoking all the time.
Either that, or that's all the protein from the bugs that hit his grill.
True. But I did notice that. I was like, wow, he's got yellow teeth. His teeth are stained. But aside from that, I don't mind him in that role. And the costume's actually kind of grown on me. I always thought it was kind of weird, but there's got to be a reason for it, for some of the stuff they did to it. And I'm sure they'll explain it. And I've been
those
going
eye speeds
crazy.
don't wear it off of him, maybe?
Yeah. Speaking of the Flash, because I'm looking at action figures, and I've been grabbing action figures here and there over the past couple of weeks. When I find them on clearance or something, it's like I picked up Darth Vader. I just got K2 SO,
Nice.
the full size, the Black Series one, which is probably the best Black Series figure I've ever seen. The paint job, everything on him is exquisite. It is just a really well done figure. But I've been looking at the Justice League figures, the Marvel, the DC Multiverse figures. They're really well done. Basically, their version of a Black Series. And you can get Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg. You cannot find the Flash. I wonder why they're holding back on the Flash for the marketing.
They can't catch him.
The toys.
Conflict from the TV series, maybe?
Possibly. But I know they make him because there's a video of the two actors opening their action figures for the first time. And like, oh my god, it looks just like you, dude. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, again, it's kind of like Star Wars, Star Trek for me. Whereas I like Marvel, I love DC, and I have been I grew up on Super Friends and Justice League, and my mom was a DC fan, so it's in my blood.
Well, yeah, and they're due a win. They really are.
They really are. And the early screenings, people were saying, I mean, the word epic came up a couple of times, so I have high hopes for it. Unlike, say, what was the other one? Any of the Fox Marvel thing. They want to do an X-23 film. I'm like, why? Why? Just give the X-Men back to Marvel. Same with the Fantastic Four. They want to do a Fantastic Four Kids?
Why?
It's like, oh, we found the way to do it. We'll do Franklin and his sister. No. You give it back to Marvel. Because they don't want to
give up.
I know they don't want to give it up. But how many times have they lost money on that franchise?
They're going to continue to lose money on it, so as long as it takes for, to keep the rights, because it doesn't matter how much money they lose, they make it back in other ways.
True.
Or they don't, but
I mean, I think Sony and Marvel or Sony and Disney's thing showed exactly what can be done and how much money can be made when you shake hands instead of saying, well, nope, this is ours, and we're just going to keep screwing with it until we find something. There's only so many times you can throw shit against the wall, hoping something sticks, before people just stop me completely. Which is why I'm sure the next X-Men film is just going to be a ginormous flop.
I don't know. Apparently, Logan did really well.
Logan did, but X-Men film, X-Men Apocalypse, did not do so well.
Well, that one we discussed that at nauseam.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to see Sansa Stark as Jean Grey?
No. I don't. I don't want to see any more. I don't want you to tell me that, oh, this all ties together and it's all the same thing, and then contradict yourself every other scene. It's just, I mean, yeah. That's the problem they're having. It's like, you should have left it with the trilogy and then went on and let First Class be the first movie of a new series instead of trying to tie it all back together. But it is not. It is. It's 11:02. Holy crap. That's right. We started late. We should end this before I go off on a carb-deficient rant, moany pissiness. Be like, you know what, Art? Screw your trains.
Then all you'll just hear
Please
is
don't. They're rather expensive.
and you might pinch
Gum
something.
up the works.
Oh.
That or you'll pinch something.
Oh.
Ow!
Yeah, blow that whistle. Ow! Why are you doing that?
Hey, remember, that is 2 amps running in that track. Enjoy that.
Blow is just an expression.
Giggity, 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 giggity. All right. Well, on that note,
Boy, we're getting a note.
let's see. We got one more week before Thor, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it just came out in the UK.
Okay.
Oh
yeah.
boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
Oh, giggity, giggity. I'm gonna put this out there right now on the air with you guys. How about after that movie comes out, we get together right afterwards instead of waiting?
Well,
Are we all gonna see it?
we're all kind of scattered.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I'm kind of
trying
broke.
to.
Think we do a short little non-spoiler kind of show on just whether it was good, whether it was deserving of the hype and all that kind of thing. Because we've never done that and gotten together right afterward. Kind of wish we had like press badges and stuff. Be like, hey, let's go. Let's go see a screening.
If only.
Because we could have seen it by now.
But we could have talked about it.
No, we couldn't. But they had press screenings. We could have talked amongst ourselves.
Oh yeah.
We haven't even gotten invited to a con yet, let alone press screenings.
Yeah. Just remember, I cosplay as myself. Who are you supposed to be? The guy that designed the Enterprise F?
Yeah, that's going to be your cred everywhere.
It is.
I would like to speak with Mark Hamill. Oh yeah, who are you? The guy who designed the Enterprise F. Oh,
So,
Oh, well, step
on
right in.
another note, Adam, how come you never told us about that web project you worked on like a year ago that did like a couple of episodes?
What project?
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, I saw you. Oh, God, I can't remember the name of it now. Just a second.
I did something?
apparently
You were
did.
involved in something.
I was?
Mm-hmm.
And he is again.
I did
They-
one episode.
Let me find it. Give me a second.
I did one episode.
And apparently that's all that there is.
Are we talking about another podcast, video cast?
It's like a story thing or something.
I was involved in a story thing?
I'm trying to find it. Give me a minute.
You should have had it when you brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
How do I not remember something I did a few
Revenant
months
White.
ago? Huh?
Revenant White.
Oh, I just did character designs for him.
Yeah, but you never even mentioned it.
No?
Which might be why it crashed and burned.
It was just, but it was a throwaway for me. I got paid to do some character designs.
Well, they got you prominently shown.
Yes, I know, they do. The first
'Cause-
episode's actually pretty good.
Because, you designed the Enterprise F.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
I have to run. I have to go pick up a teenage person from a haunted house.
Well, there you go. I
thing.
mean, is it still up and out there? You can still hear it?
The website's up, and I think it's still up on YouTube. Yeah,
I think they only had one episode that they finished. It was they were trying to do a radio show, a horror anthology radio show, sort of kind of thing, a scripted, like an old time radio show.
They did
Oh,
two
cool.
episodes. Apparently.
Remember the old CBS Radio Mystery Theater?
Those kind of things, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he asked me to do some character design so people knew what the characters looked like. And I was like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of imagination, but all right.
That way they can at least,
But like
I think
said,
it was-
I
I
got
think it
a
was more
cut
for
and
the
run.
actors.
So good night, y'all.
Good night.
take care.
Good.
It's more for the actors to get a feel of what the character they're portraying looks like. It's on my website. Actually, yeah, it's prominently displayed. It's in my portfolio. I cannot wait for at least another 2 or 3 months where I can actually put a whole lot more stuff up there so people can see the things I've been working on for the past year. I'm just not allowed to. But, okay. Sitting there I was trying to think, oh my god, I mean, you guys all knew I did a Trek episode. What is he talking about?
There was much confusion.
There was much confusion. It's like, and that was more like 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure the first design I did for those was back in like 2014. It's ages ago.
And you must have enjoyed the hubbub after the F made its first appearance and everyone freaked out.
Dude, I got hate mail.
No.
I got hate mail. Dude,
Boom.
I wish you could still go back and see some of the message boards.
I think that's one of the best looking ships to come.
Yeah, we could talk
I
about
thought
it.
it was
while.
wicked cool.
I will tell you after the show. But yeah.
And I'm
'Cause,
not being a brown noser either. I thought it was like, wow,
No,
man,
I mean,
that thing's incredible.
The Odyssey class is an absolutely gorgeous starship.
Oh.
I mean, especially compared to the accident that they put out for the Federation cruisers.
Well, the enormity of it is what blew my mind.
Well, the Penguin, who is here in spirit, just not in body, for a while, dude, he was like having starstruck stuff with me. It was freaking me out.
He got better.
He did. When he first started hanging out and doing stuff on the show, it was just, he would geek out. I was like, dude, I put my pants on like everybody else.
Well,
I
looking
made
at it this
one
way, it's
spaceship.
better than the alternative.
Yeah, it's like, come
That's
on,
true.
relax, people.
That's true. I mean, my
One
15
nacelle at a
minutes.
time.
Yeah, my 15 minutes came and left a long time ago.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's a gorgeous ship. You've done a great job with its design, and I wish they would have brought you in on other starship designs, because I think some of the Federation ships they produced afterwards have been a little lackluster.
Well, I can tell you this
especially-
right now: the
I
design
really don't
that is
have
in game.
much love for the new the Miracle Worker ship. That just does not. That is a sour note on my palate.
The design of the Enterprise F, while the spirit of my original sketch and my original idea is there, it's maybe 10% me, and the rest of it is Thomas Marone and Adam Williams. That's their design. What you see is theirs, not mine. I get the credit for it, but I will never, and I will say this right here in front of everybody, I will never, ever, ever take sole credit for what you see on screen.
Mm.
I can't. I cannot, in good conscience, say, "Oh yeah, that's mine." No, it's
Well,
not.
no, and 99 times out of 100, that's gonna be the case because everything like that is a group effort. There's never just one person who did the whole
But the
thing
spirit
from
is
front to
there.
back. Yeah,
The spirit is there. And I mean,
Yeah.
the original idea, and it was there. And I mean, but again, there was a lot of hubbub about it afterwards. So, like I said, after the show, I mean, the other guys know it, but I'll tell you, Jim, I'll tell you after the show.
sure. Well, it's just like when people go down to Islands of Adventure down at Universal in Florida, and I tell them I worked on stuff down there, and they go, like what? And I point them immediately to that statue of Popeye near Toon Lagoon. I go, I worked on that, but I'm not the only person that worked on it. I led the team that sculpted it.
Yes, I do the same thing with the Harry Potter stuff.
It's like one guy was sculpting the head, and I was sculpting the arms and legs, and then I did some of the torso, and then I did some tweaking, but it was like 3 guys all together working on that thing.
There are only maybe one or two things floating around the parks down there that I can say I was the only person working on it. But like the Harry Potter thing, there was a team. I led a team of 5 guys.
Oh yeah,
that
huge
sculpted
team.
it.
Sure.
So yeah.
Well,
So,
it's
I
like
mean,
all the barrels and crates and bales around Toon Lagoon. I got to sculpt the plug for those, and then
the
they
molds
got
are made from that.
right, and then the fiberglass copies were made from the plug that I sculpted, and then I had to kind of R&D the final paint finish, but then I had a whole team of folks that I sat them down and I painted one in front of them. I said, "Here's what we do," and then I just dialed them in and walked away. And so it wasn't just me; it was like a dozen people worked on those things because it had to go to fiberglass, and those guys had to blow that out. It had to go to mold, and those guys had to blow the mold out, and and then all the people that were painting them, and so my God, I mean. I can't tell you how many people laid hands on those pieces. I did get to do the sculpt, and I'm proud of that, but a lot of fun. Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, I had a lot of input in my model railroad thing. I had a lot of, I was constantly asking guys, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? My options are A, B, and C. Which way do you think I should proceed? I had a lot of input, but with the exception of the soldering, all the actual work, the detailing, the laying of the ballast and everything on the club layout for the new engine house is 100% me. Except,
Nice.
well, I mean, like we bought the track. All the buildings were, came to us used and weathered, but I've done the blending of like the base into the scenery and that kind of stuff. So, but you're right. I don't always think about, what kind of how many others would work on larger projects like that.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for putting that into perspective.
It is. I mean, a lot of people do that. It's like, oh, it's like, I mean, and they congratulate me. I mean, all the way through on DeviantArt and stuff. Where it's like, oh man, that's an awesome ship. You did a great job. It's like, and I will always credit. I was like, no, man. I did this, and these guys did this, so they get just as much credit as I do. So
They took the concept and took it further.
yes. They took the initial concept and they made it what it is today. And was I involved? Not as much as I would have liked. Did I get to see it before everybody else? Oh hell yeah, I did. I knew what that thing looked like long before anybody else saw it. But again, I couldn't give them any really input on it legally wise for legal reasons. But once I was like, I was impressed. So, but we can talk about that later and some more later.
Yeah, it's
we
time
need to end
wrap
this. We need time. We need to wrap this up. We're going on 2 hours.
Last
So much
call?
for short shows. Last call.
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
I'm gonna have some fun tomorrow. I've been asked to go to the local library and do a Halloween makeup demonstration for a bunch of kids.
Sweet.
Oh, so that's gonna be a blast. And,
Nice.
And the librarian put out the gore warning because we're going to do all kinds of scary crap and blood and cuts and bruises and zombies. And so I've got 2 hours to knock out all kinds of makeup on kids. It's going to be so damn fun.
I was a really weird makeup artist. I never got into Halloween. I was never really into it. And everyone's like, oh, you must love Halloween. It's like, no, not really.
I'm a makeup artist because of Halloween and theater.
Yeah. I was always been the monster man, like aliens and stuff like that, but never. It's like, oh, can you do a zombie in my sleep? But do I want to? Not really.
Well, I got to really get into makeup when I worked for a local haunted house event for about 10 years straight. So I became their lead guy when it came to doing all the really awful things that we would have to turn out to scare people, and so I really got into it. That's when I started having phone conversations with people like Tom Savini.
Sweet.
So that was a lot of cool stuff.
And you're doing that tomorrow?
And I'm doing a couple hours of that tomorrow with some kids, with some middle school kids.
Oh, okay. So not like little kids.
No, middle.
You're not
school.
going to be causing nightmares.
Nah, these kids can handle it. We did it last year, and we had an absolute ball. And so I was asked back again this year. It's a paid gig, which is cool. So
that's even better.
I wish I had some. I mean, I wish I had more for the last call, but I don't, because again, I can't talk about anything I'm working on. But yeah. Anybody else?
Not really.
All right, then. Well, we will be back next week. It is, look at this, going right on the 2-hour mark. Let's see if we can get this right on the 2-hour mark. Next week, probably more Discovery, definitely more Rebels, because I guess the story next week is going to delve into Kanan and Hera's relationship a little bit more, which is going to be nice. Probably some lead-in for Thor. Hopefully not too many spoilers come out in the next couple of days, since it's already out in Europe. Steer clear of the internet, guys.
Spoilers. Loki
Spoilers.
kills Dumbledore.
Yes. And same bat time, same bat channel next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you for the people who have been listening to this after the show goes live, because we've got a lot more views than we had before. I was quite impressed, and we've got more subscribers, so thanks.
It's probably because I wasn't here. It's all my fault.
We've had people watching our show, which I think is really great, and it will get better. Things will get bigger and better over the next
Years.
hopefully 6 or 7 months. If my workload dies down and things, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks again for listening, and we'll be back next week. Say goodnight, boys.
Good night, boys.
Hey, live long and prosper.
Peace
Give me
and
your money.
life. We're gonna sell Wolfie's car. He's not here to know about it though. And the doors are closed. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us at the Geek EZ. We have some big changes coming down the road, but to find out about them, you have to hit that subscribe button. You could also follow us on Facebook and Twitter to find out what's new and what's coming down the road. So do us a favor, subscribe.